Holy Holy
September 10, 2025, Utah Valley University. The auditorium is full, hundreds of students and guests packed in to hear one of the most polarizing conservative voices in America, Charlie Kirk. He takes the stage, microphone in hand, ready to speak. But within minutes, the crowd's applause is shattered by a single gunshot. From a rooftop nearby, a bullet tears through the night and strikes Kirk in the neck. Chaos erupts. Security rushes the stage. And within hours, America would learn that Charlie Kirk, a husband, father, and founder of Turning Point USA, was dead. 6 days later, the man accused of pulling the trigger made his first court appearance. 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson, arrested after his own family urged him to surrender, appeared on a video screen from jail, dressed in a suicide prevention vest. The judge denied him bail, prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty, and the nation was left with haunting questions. Who is Tyler Robinson? Why target Charlie Kirk? And what does this case reveal about the growing shadow of political violence in America? The night began like any other campus speaking event. Charlie Kirk, known for his sharp rhetoric and fiery debates, took the stage at Utah Valley University just after 7 p.m. The audience, a mix of students, supporters, and critics, filled the auditorium. Security was visible, but no one expected what came next. Witnesses say Kirk had only just begun his remarks when the shot rang out. A single bullet, fired from a rooftop across the street. In an instant, Kirk staggered, clutching his neck, before collapsing onto the stage floor. Panic spread like wildfire. Chairs overturned as people scrambled for cover. Outside, law enforcement quickly locked down the campus. Officers traced the shot to a vantage point on a nearby rooftop, a position that prosecutors say had been carefully chosen. The weapon, a highly powerful Mauser Model 98 bolt-action hunting rifle chambered in .30-06 Springfield with a 5-round capacity and a high-end scope valued at nearly $2,000, had been gifted to Robinson by his grandfather and was later recovered near the scene, wrapped in a towel alongside spent cartridges, some of which were engraved with bizarre and provocative messages, including phrases like "notices bulges, oh whoa what's this, hey fascist." Medical teams fought to save him, but the wound was catastrophic. The official cause of death was confirmed within hours, a fatal gunshot to the neck. At just 31 years old, Charlie Kirk's voice was silenced in front of a live audience. Some described the deafening crack of the rifle shot. Others remember the haunting silence that followed, broken only by screams and cries. And for his wife, Erica Kirk, and their family, the impact was immediate and devastating: a husband, a father, a son, taken in an instant. A few hours after the shooting, federal agents launched a manhunt. The FBI released surveillance photos showing a young man carrying what appeared to be a rifle case near the university grounds. The images spread quickly across news outlets and social media, turning the search into a nationwide spectacle. Who was this man, and why was he at the scene? The answer came sooner than many expected. Within days, family members of 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson recognized the figure in the photos. The resemblance was undeniable. And in a decision that shocked investigators, it was his own family who convinced him to turn himself in. According to charging documents, relatives urged him to surrender peacefully, telling him there was no escape, no way forward if he ran. Robinson eventually agreed. He walked into custody quietly, without resistance, and was transferred to Utah County Jail under heavy security. The arrest ended the immediate manhunt, but it opened a floodgate of questions. How had a 22-year-old, barely out of adolescence, managed to plan and execute the assassination of a nationally known political figure? What pushed him to target Charlie Kirk? For the public, the shock was profound. A young man, not a seasoned criminal, accused of pulling the trigger in a killing that played out before a live audience. The nation's eyes now shifted from the rooftop where the shot was fired, to the jail cell where Tyler Robinson awaited his first day in court. On September 16, just 6 days after the assassination, the suspect made his first appearance before a judge. But unlike the drama of a crowded courtroom, this hearing took place over a video feed from inside Utah County Jail. On the screen appeared a young man, 22 years old, wearing a thick, padded vest designed to prevent suicide. His face was expressionless. When the judge asked him to confirm his name, Robinson spoke his only words of the hearing, a simple acknowledgement. Beyond that, he said nothing. No plea. No statement. No sign of remorse. The brief interaction left the courtroom eerily quiet, as if everyone was waiting for something more, but it never came. The judge quickly moved through the formalities. Bail was denied. Robinson would remain behind bars until trial. A protective order was issued barring him from contacting Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk. This case would be handled with the highest caution. Then came the announcement that reverberated through the country. Prosecutors declared they would seek the death penalty. It was the ultimate consequence, reserved for the most severe crimes under Utah law. For many, it underscored the gravity of what had happened, the public execution-style killing of a nationally known figure, carried out in front of witnesses. For others, it raised new questions about justice, politics, and the meaning of accountability in a divided America. At that first appearance, prosecutors laid out the full scope of the accusations. Tyler James Robinson now faces some of the most severe charges under Utah law. 1. Aggravated murder, the deliberate killing of Charlie Kirk, elevated by the planning and the public nature of the crime. 2. Felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, tied to the fatal shot that tore through the university auditorium. 3. 2 counts of obstruction of justice, for actions prosecutors say Robinson took to conceal his involvement and destroy evidence. 4. 2 counts of witness tampering, allegations that he attempted to influence or intimidate individuals connected to the case. 5. 1 count of a violent offense in the presence of a child, a recognition that minors were in the audience when Kirk was shot. Each of these charges carries weight. Together, they paint the portrait of a crime not only deadly, but carefully orchestrated and deeply disruptive to the community. The most serious, aggravated murder, opens the door to the harshest possible sentence in Utah, the death penalty. Prosecutors wasted no time in making their intentions clear. They told the court that this is not a case where life in prison would suffice. They will seek capital punishment. If they succeed, Robinson, just 22 years old, could become one of the youngest defendants in recent history to face execution in the state of Utah. Tyler Robinson now stands at the center of a case that will test the boundaries of law, politics, and punishment in America. As the charges were announced, prosecutors also began to reveal the trail of evidence they claim ties Tyler Robinson directly to the assassination. The picture they painted was of a young man not acting on impulse, but following a plan driven by political hatred. Inside Robinson's residence, investigators discovered a handwritten note tucked beneath a computer keyboard. In it, prosecutors say Robinson expressed deep hostility toward Charlie Kirk and his politics. But that wasn't the only piece of evidence. According to charging documents, Robinson also left a trail of digital footprints. On platforms like Discord and through text messages, prosecutors claim he openly discussed his desire to silence Kirk. In one exchange cited in court filings, he allegedly admitted targeting the conservative activist, describing his actions as a necessary strike against what he called hatred. These alleged statements form the backbone of the state's case. To prosecutors, they demonstrate not only motive, but premeditation. They argue that Robinson scouted the location, positioned himself on a rooftop with a high-powered rifle, and carried out a deliberate act of political violence. But it is important to remember, at this stage, these remain allegations. Robinson has not yet entered a plea. His defense attorneys have not responded publicly to the claims, and the full weight of this evidence has not yet been tested in court. What is certain, however, is that the government intends to use every word, every note, and every digital message to build its case for the death penalty. The next scheduled hearing is set for September 29, 2025. At that time, the court will review procedural issues and set the stage for what promises to be a long and contentious trial. Central to the proceedings will be Utah's death penalty review process. For prosecutors to pursue execution, they must present evidence of aggravating factors, premeditation, the public nature of the killing, and the broader impact on the community. These hearings are often as much about moral debate as legal strategy, placing the state's highest punishment under the microscope. Meanwhile, Robinson's defense attorneys are expected to begin filing motions, challenging the admissibility of the handwritten note, questioning the context of the alleged digital messages, and possibly raising arguments about his mental state. In high-profile cases like this, the defense often works to suppress evidence that could inflame a jury, while also building a narrative of their client's background, struggles, or vulnerabilities. For now, Robinson remains in custody without bail. The court process ahead will determine whether this case becomes another chapter in America's long history of political violence, or a moment that forces the nation to confront deeper questions about justice, punishment, and division. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is not just a crime story, it is a sobering reminder of America's history with political violence. From the murders of President John F. Kennedy and Senator Robert F. Kennedy, to the shooting of Congressman Steve Scalise, moments like these remind us how fragile public life can be, and how quickly violence can alter the course of political debate. The attack has reignited urgent questions about security at public events. If a well-known figure like Kirk, speaking on a university campus, could be targeted so effectively from a rooftop, what does that say about the safety of other political leaders, activists, or even ordinary citizens who attend rallies? Already, some universities and event organizers are reviewing their security protocols, increasing patrols, and rethinking how to protect both speakers and audiences in such polarized times. Public reaction has been deeply divided. Supporters of Charlie Kirk mourn him as a martyr for free speech, a man silenced because of his beliefs. Critics, while condemning the violence, argue that his rhetoric was itself polarizing and contributed to the tensions that now dominate American politics. What is clear is that this case is bigger than one man, one shooter, or one courtroom. It is about a country wrestling with the dangers of extremism, the limits of political discourse, and the cost of letting division harden into hate. A young man accused of assassinating a political figure, now facing the death penalty. That is where this case stands today. Tyler James Robinson, 22 years old, awaits trial, while prosecutors prepare to seek the harshest punishment available under Utah law. For Charlie Kirk's family, the loss is permanent. His wife, Erica, is left a widow. His children will grow up without a father. As the trial moves forward, one question will hang over every proceeding: will justice, in the form of a possible execution, bring closure to the families and communities shattered by this crime? Or will it only deepen the wounds of a country already struggling to hold itself together? This is not just the story of a murder. It is the story of a nation confronting its own anger, its own divisions, and the very real cost of letting hatred turn into action. This case is only beginning, and the questions surrounding it are far from answered. I'll be following every development as it unfolds, from the hearings, to the evidence, to the final verdict. If you want to stay informed on this and other true crime cases, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the conversation in the comments below.